Jake Brown, Howie Rose. All right, the anniversary of the Matteau call.
Were you even born yet?
I was 91, so I was 3. I was a little shy. Sorry to make you feel old. What's your Mount Rushmore? Because you were saying that's still your number one. Johann's up there. You know, Mets pennants are up there. But your Mount Rushmore, your calls.
Well, that's got to be the first, right? Because it's endured in a way that I don't think any call I've ever made will or can. And I'm just very, very fortunate that most of us work our entire careers in this business and never get a moment like that. We have no control over it, obviously. We're just in the right place at the right time. And so to have had the opportunity, frankly, just to call that series was a thrill because it was the best 7-game Stanley Cup series I'd ever seen. So, you know, when you talk about memorable calls, personally for me, sure, everything falls underneath that.
What's after that? Is Johann 2, 2015 3?
I would say, well, yeah, because I think we've talked about this, and you know, the Johann call in some ways was pretty close to the Matteau call because just as I had been convinced that the Rangers were cursed and jinxed and were never going to win, I was also equally convinced that the same forces that decreed that the Rangers were never going to win a Stanley Cup had also, just for kicks, determined that no Met would ever pitch a no-hitter. And so it took me a split second after David Freese swung and missed at strike 3, and that ball was nestled in Josh Tolley, the catcher's glove. I had to stare at that for just, you know, a split second and go, did that really happen? And on it went.
It's got to be extra special now because 30 years later they still haven't won.
No.
Is this a different team? Like, everyone's talking about the 94 vibes of this playoff run with the Knicks, Rangers. Do you feel those kind of vibes?
I think one of the either benefits or detriments to being 70 years old is that you feel that you've kind of seen how things work. And you've seen that you can draw a lot of parallels, and as we stand here today, we're exactly where the Rangers were after the first game of the Eastern Conference Final in '94. They lost that game at the Garden, and of course went on to win the whole thing. I can't sit here and draw these esoteric parallels that tell me that it's 1994 all over again. I'd like to think that's going to happen, but this Florida team is good. I mean, they are really, really good. They played a perfect road game in game 1 of the series, and the Rangers are going to have their hands full. But they won the President's Trophy for a reason, too. They're good in every facet of the game, and I see no reason why they can't rebound from a Game 1 loss and go on to bigger and better things.
What would it mean to you for them to win another one?
Oh, I'd love it. I mean, I'd love it. Look, I fell in love with the Rangers at age 12 in 1966, and you don't lose that. You learn how to manage it as you become a professional, a broadcaster, and you know, we work some cases for other teams after we leave the ones that we grew up rooting for, and we learn to love those teams too because look, Mark Messier won 5 Stanley Cups in Edmonton, won another one with the Rangers. I think it's like choosing between your kids, right? It's you know, you experience things that are special with a variety of different teams and people, and you cherish them all. But for me, yeah, seeing the Rangers win another Stanley Cup would be just wonderful.
And they come few and far between. We won't even talk about the Mets because who knows when they're going to win another one.
I know one thing, the Mets will never win a Stanley Cup.
That is a fact, and I can confirm that. No Elias Sports Bureau needed. Tell us about the foundation tonight, Stephane Matteau Foundation, Mount Sinai Hospital. Tell us about it.
Well, Steph's foundation is really special because Stephane's a special person. He has opened up about his background. Now you look at a big, strong, natural athlete like that, you might not realize this. He also played in the Little League World Series, not only on a Stanley Cup championship team. So, we're talking about a guy who's a gifted athlete, but he had his own insecurities, his own bouts with depression, his own experiences having been bullied, if you could imagine that. And he has not only opened up about that, but he wants to use his life's experience to help others. That's as good as it gets. And so that's what his foundation is about. And he can talk forever about it because it's such a passion to him. And when I was approached, and he and I have talked about doing something to commemorate his goal over the years, but he talked about, you know, other ways to raise money and for other organizations. I thought, well, after my experience, that, you know, my life, to a certain extent, I owe now to Mount Sinai Hospital and Dr. Reza Marazin in their urology department, the surgeon who performed my bladder cancer surgery to remove the bladder and the prostate. What they do is unbelievable. They take, I think it was about 16 inches of, in my case, my lower intestine, and they make a bladder out of it. And when you recover from the surgery, there are a couple of little adjustments you have to make, which are, in a lot of ways life-changing, but not insurmountable at all. And they send you on your way. They say, no restrictions, go live your life. So I owe my life really to not only Dr. Marazin and his physician's assistant, his PA, Hitasha Karola, but to Dr. Peter Wickland, one of the foremost surgeons in the world who helped develop the surgery that builds what's called a neobladder, which is what I have. To Dr. John Sfakianos also, who provided a lot of counsel pre-surgically at Mount Sinai. Those people mean the world to me.
And how are you now? Your health is
great.
good?
Yeah, great.
Good. Glad to hear. The 30th, I got to do the math, anniversary of the Matteau call. Jake Brown, Howie Rose. Check it out.
Hi, Jake's mom.
She said to say hi. So.